Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started. He set down his cup and walked quickly to the command center of Earth Defense Command. The huge screens on the walls showed nothing but empty space and distant stars. But something was wrong. The communications officer, Lieutenant Kate Wilson, looked worried. "Sir, we're getting a signal from deep space," she said. "It's not like anything we've seen before." Jake moved to her station and looked at the data streaming across her screen. The signal was strong and clear, but it came from a place where no human ship had ever been. It came from the direction of Kepler 442, a neutron star so far away that even their fastest ships would take months to reach it. "Can you decode it?" Jake asked. Kate's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard. "Working. On it, sir. The signal is using multiple languages. Some we know, some we don't. But there's a section in perfect English." The main screen flickered and then showed text. Jake read it twice to make sure he understood what he was seeing. "To the species known as humans, you are commanded to appear before the Galactic Council within 30 standard days. A representative delegation will travel to Council Station at coordinates provided. This summons is not optional. Failure to comply will result in immediate action against your species." The command center went quiet. Every person there knew what this meant. For over 100 years, humans had heard rumors about the Galactic Council, ancient alien races that ruled most of the galaxy, species so old and powerful that younger races either served them or stayed out of their way. No one had ever seen them. No one had ever talked to them, until now. "Get me Captain Lisa Bennett," Jake said. "Tell her to prepare the USS Liberty for immediate departure." While Kate made the call, Jake studied the coordinates. They pointed to a location near Kepler 442 in a part of space where humans had never sent ships. The neutron star there was so dangerous that any ship would need special shielding just to survive the radiation. Captain Bennett arrived within an hour. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. She had commanded the Liberty for 3 years and was known for keeping calm in dangerous situations. "Admiral, the Liberty is ready," she said. "But I have to ask, are we really going to meet aliens?" "It looks that way," Jake replied. "Choose your best crew, and pick our diplomatic team carefully. Ambassador Ryan Clark will lead the talks. Dr. Susan Taylor will come as our science advisor. We need people who can think fast and stay calm." Bennett nodded. "How much do we know about these council aliens?" Jake pulled up files on his computer. The information was thin. "Not much. We have reports from traders and explorers who claim they met council species. The Vorthak Empire controls trade routes across half the galaxy. They look like giant insects with 4 arms. The Zilani are made of living crystal and can shape matter with their minds. The Keepers are so old that no one knows what they really look like." Dr. Taylor arrived as Jake was speaking. She was a small woman with gray hair and wire-rimmed glasses. She had spent her whole career studying alien life, even though humans had never made contact with intelligent aliens before. "I've been reading the reports," she said. "These council species have technology we can barely understand. Ships that can cross the galaxy in days. Weapons that can destroy planets. If they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it already. Then why the summons? Bennett asked. Taylor looked worried. That's what scares me. They want something from us, or they see us as a threat. Ambassador Clark joined them an hour later. He was a middle-aged man with silver hair and a calm voice. He had handled diplomatic missions with the Mars colonies and the Outer Rim settlements, but those were humans talking to humans. This would be different. I've been studying everything we know about galactic politics, Clark said. The Council maintains order by making rules that everyone has to follow. They decide which species can expand to new worlds. They control who gets advanced technology. They've been doing this for thousands of years. And we never asked permission for anything, Jake said. Exactly. We've been exploring and settling new worlds for decades. We've built colonies in 73 star systems. We've developed artificial intelligence and quantum computers. We've built a military fleet, all without asking the Council if it was okay. Bennett looked at the star map on the wall. Red dots marked every human colony. So we're in trouble for being human. That's one way to put it, Clark said. The Liberty launched 2 days later. The ship was humanity's finest diplomatic vessel, equipped with the best shields and fastest engines humans could build. The crew of 40 included pilots, engineers, communication specialists, and Marines for protection. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Jake stood in his office looking out at Earth. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and small. 3 billion humans lived there, and billions more lived in the colonies among the stars. All of them were counting on the Liberty's mission. Dr. Taylor spent the journey studying every piece of information about Council species. She learned that the Vorthak valued strength and direct communication. The Zilani respected logic and precision. The Keepers were mysterious and spoke in riddles. Each species was older than human civilization and had technology that seemed like magic. Bennett drilled her crew on emergency procedures. If something went wrong at the Council station, they would need to escape quickly. The Liberty was fast, but it was also alone in hostile space. Clark practiced his speeches and studied galactic law. The Council had rules about everything. Which species could join them? Which technologies were allowed? Which parts of space were open for settlement? Humans had broken most of these rules without even knowing they existed. After 2 weeks in hyperspace, the Liberty dropped back into normal space near Kepler 442. What they saw took their breath away. The Council station was enormous. It stretched for thousands of kilometers in all directions. Ships from dozens of different species moved around it like insects around a hive. The station itself glowed with strange lights and energy fields. "Captain," the communications officer said, "we're being scanned." "By who?" Bennett asked. "I count at least 12 different scan types. Some I don't even recognize." A new voice came over the speakers. It spoke perfect English, but there was something cold about it. "Human vessel, you are cleared to dock at Platform 7. Follow the guidance beacons. Any deviation from the assigned course will result in immediate destruction." Bennett guided the Liberty toward the docking platform. The human ship looked tiny next to the alien vessels around it. Some ships were as large as cities. Others had shapes that hurt to look at. A few seemed to be made of pure energy. "Well," Clark said as they docked, I guess we're about to find out what the Council wants with humanity. Jake watched through the view screen as airlock tubes connected to the Liberty. In a few minutes, humans would step onto an alien station for the first time in history. Whatever happened next would change everything for the human race. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. Ambassador Clark stepped through first, followed by Dr. Taylor and Captain Bennett. Two Marines, Sergeant Dan Murphy and Corporal Amy Price, came behind them with their weapons visible but not drawn. The docking bay was massive. The ceiling stretched up so high that it disappeared into darkness. Ships from dozens of different worlds sat in organized rows. Some looked like metal insects. Others seemed to be grown rather than built. A few appeared to be made of pure light. A figure approached them from across the bay. It was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were large and black, and it wore robes that seemed to shift color as it moved. This was their first real alien. "I am Guide Nexhal of the Vorthak Empire," it said in perfect English. "You will follow me to the council chamber. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to anyone. Do not deviate from the path." The human delegation followed the alien through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls showed moving pictures of worlds and stars. Other aliens passed by, some walking, some floating, some moving in ways that made no sense. Dr. Taylor tried to take notes, but there was too much to see. "How many species are here?" she whispered to Nexhal. "Silence," the alien replied. "You will speak only when the council gives permission." They entered a lift that moved sideways as much as up. Through the transparent walls, they could see the inside of the station. It was like a city that had no beginning or end. Millions of beings moved through tubes and corridors. Ships launched and landed on platforms that hung in empty space. The council chamber was at the center of the station. When the doors opened, the humans stopped and stared. The room was huge beyond imagination. 12 platforms floated in a perfect circle, each one holding representatives from a different species. The platforms hung in empty space with no visible support. High Arbiter Veltar of the Vorthak Empire sat on the highest platform. He was twice the size of the guide who had brought them here. His 4 arms ended in hands that could crush a human. Skull. His voice boomed through the chamber when he spoke. "So these are the humans," he said. "Smaller than I expected." The platform next to him held a being that looked like living crystal. Light passed through its body and came out as rainbows. This was a Zalani. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Size is not important," the Zalani said. "Their actions speak of dangerous ambition." A third platform held something that hurt to look at directly. It seemed to be made of shifting geometric shapes that changed every time you blinked. The humans guessed this was one of the ancient keepers. "Time will show their true nature," the keeper said in a voice that seemed to come from inside their heads. Ambassador Clark stepped forward. "I am Ryan Clark, representing the United Earth government and all human colonies. We come in peace to answer your summons." Veltar's laugh sounded like breaking glass. "Peace? Your species knows nothing of peace. You have spread across the galaxy like a disease. You take worlds without permission. You build weapons without approval. You ignore laws that have kept order for thousands of years. Dr. Taylor felt her scientific curiosity fighting with growing fear. These beings were clearly more advanced than humans. Their technology was beyond anything Earth had ever developed. But there was something about their attitude that bothered her. They spoke about humans like they were children who had misbehaved. "What laws?" Clark asked. "We were never told about any galactic laws." The Zalani's crystal body flashed with angry red light. "Ignorance is no excuse. All intelligent species must follow the Galactic Compact. It has maintained peace and order for 3 millennia. A screen appeared in the air above the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored areas. Most of the galaxy was marked in various shades of blue, green, and yellow. A tiny, red area marked human space. "These are the territories of council member species," Veltar explained. "Each area is carefully managed. Population is controlled. Expansion is planned. Resources are shared. This system has prevented galactic war for longer than your species has existed." The screen zoomed in on human space. Red dots marked every human colony. Lines showed trade routes and communication networks. Numbers showed population and military strength. "Humans have established colonies in 73 star systems," the Zalani continued. "You have built a military fleet of over 800 ships. You have developed artificial intelligence beyond permitted parameters. You have terraformed worlds without environmental impact studies." Captain Bennett watched the display with growing anger. Everything the aliens called violations, humans called progress. They were being criticized for doing what humans had always done: explore, build, and grow. "You terraform worlds that were already assigned to other purposes," another voice said. This came from a fourth platform that held a being that looked like a walking tree. "You disrupt ecosystems that took millions of years to develop." Dr. Taylor couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Those worlds were empty. No intelligent life, no cities, no civilization. We brought life to dead rocks." The chamber filled with sounds that the translation systems couldn't convert. Several aliens seemed to be arguing in their own languages. Finally, Veltar raised all 4 arms for silence. "This is exactly the problem," he said. "Humans think only in terms of immediate utility. You see an empty world and think it needs to be filled. You see a resource and think it needs to be used. You see a frontier and think it needs to be conquered." The Keeper's shifting form seemed to grow larger. "Your species lacks wisdom. You are children playing with forces beyond your understanding." "What forces?" Clark asked. The screen changed to show human technology. Pictures of AI computers, quantum drives, and terraforming equipment filled the air. Each image was marked with symbols that clearly meant forbidden. "Artificial intelligence leads to mechanical uprising," the Zalani said. "History shows this truth across hundreds of species. Quantum manipulation creates instabilities in space-time. Terraforming destroys planetary balance that cannot be restored. Bennett stepped forward. Our AI systems are perfectly safe. We've used them for decades without problems. Our quantum drives work fine. Our terraforming creates new homes for millions of people. Your experience covers mere decades, Veltar said. The Council has data spanning millions of years. We have seen species destroy themselves with the same technologies you now embrace. Dr. Taylor was taking mental notes of everything she heard. The aliens weren't just criticizing human expansion. They were afraid of human technology. They seemed to believe that certain scientific advances were too dangerous for any species to pursue. You will present the formal charges, the Keeper said to Veltar. The High Arbiter stood up to his full height. His shadow fell across the human delegation like a dark cloud. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber with the weight of absolute authority. The species known as humans stands formally charged with violation of the Galactic Compact, unauthorized expansion into restricted space, development of prohibited technologies, military buildup beyond permitted levels, environmental destruction of protected worlds, cultural contamination of developing species. Each charge hit the humans like a physical blow. Everything that made their civilization successful was being labeled as a crime. Their drive to explore was called invasion. Their scientific progress was called dangerous. Their military was called a threat. These charges carry the penalty of species management or species termination, Veltar continued. The Council will now deliberate your fate. You will remain here under guard until we reach a decision. As alien guards surrounded them, Clark realized that humanity wasn't on trial. The trial was already over. The Council had already decided that humans were guilty. Now they were just choosing the punishment. The guards led them to a small chamber with transparent walls. Through the walls, they could see the Council platforms where aliens debated in languages humans couldn't understand. But they didn't need to understand the words. The gestures and tones made it clear that humanity's future was being decided by beings who saw them as a problem to be solved. The human delegation waited in their transparent cell for 3 hours. They could see the Council platforms through the walls, watching as aliens debated their species' fate. Dr. Taylor used the time to study each Council member, taking mental notes about their behavior and technology. The Vorthak representatives gestured with all 4 arms when they talked, their movements sharp and aggressive. The Zalani shifted through different colors as their mood changed, currently showing deep blues and purples that seemed to indicate serious thought. The Keepers remained mostly still, their geometric forms occasionally pulsing with internal light. "They're treating us like criminals," Captain Bennett said quietly. "Everything they call a crime is just normal human behavior." Ambassador Clark nodded. "They've decided we're guilty before hearing our side. This isn't a trial, it's a sentencing." Sergeant Murphy stood near the wall, watching the alien guards outside. "Sir, I count at least 20 different species represented here. Some I've never seen before, and they all seem to agree that we're the problem." Dr. Taylor looked up from her observations. "That's what bothers me most. 3,000 years of galactic peace, they say. But peace for who? I don't see any young species here. No new civilizations. Just the same old powers that have been in control since before humans learned to make fire. A new sound echoed through the chamber. The council platforms were moving, rotating to face the human cell. High Arbiter Veltar rose from his seat, his 4 arms spread wide. The other council members fell silent. "The council has reached its decision," Veltar announced. His voice carried easily through the cell walls. "The species known as humans will be given one final opportunity to avoid total destruction." The cell walls became transparent from both sides. Now the humans could see the full council chamber, and all the alien representatives could see them. Clark felt like an animal in a zoo exhibit. "These are the terms of humanity's surrender," Veltar continued. "First, all human colonies beyond. Your original solar system will be abandoned within 1 galactic standard year. All colonists will return to Earth or face removal by Council forces." Bennett felt her heart sink. 73 star systems. Over 2 billion human colonists. Families who had lived on those worlds for generations. Children who had never seen Earth. All to be uprooted and forced to leave their homes. Second, all human military vessels will be surrendered to Council. Custody for decommissioning. Your species will be permitted a small patrol force for system defense only, subject to Council oversight. Clark thought about Earth's proud fleet. 800 ships built with human ingenuity and determination. Ships that had carried explorers to distant stars and protected colonies from pirates and natural disasters, all to be given up to aliens who saw human ambition as a disease. Third, all artificial intelligence systems will be surrendered for immediate destruction. No human will possess, develop, or operate AI technology of any kind. Dr. Taylor gasped. AI systems ran everything from spacecraft navigation to medical diagnosis. They helped manage the complex systems that kept millions of humans alive on dozens of different worlds. Destroying them would cripple human civilization. Fourth, all terraforming operations will cease immediately. Worlds currently being transformed will be abandoned in their present state. No new terraforming will be permitted without Council approval. This meant abandoning half-finished worlds where humans had invested decades of work and billions of resources. Planets that were almost ready to support human life would be left as barren rocks. Fifth, human technological development will be subject to Council oversight. No research into quantum manipulation, nanotechnology, or space-time mechanics will be permitted. Violation of these restrictions will result in immediate intervention. Bennett realized that the Council wasn't just demanding surrender. They were demanding that humans stop being human. Stop exploring. Stop growing. Stop innovating. Stop everything that had brought humanity to the stars. Finally, Veltar said, humanity will accept Council guidance in all matters of galactic importance. Your species will be classified as a managed civilization under Council protection. The word protection sounded like prison to human ears. These terms are non-negotiable, the Zalani representative added, its crystal form flashing with final authority. You have 72 standard hours to communicate with your homeworld and return with your species' acceptance. The Keeper's voice echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. Choose wisely. The Council has tools that can sterilize entire star systems without destroying the worlds themselves. Your choice is submission or extinction. Ambassador Clark stood up slowly. We request permission to send a message to Earth. Granted, Veltar said. You will transmit from the communications center under Council supervision. Any attempt to send unauthorized information will result in immediate termination of negotiations. The guards escorted the human delegation through corridors that seemed designed to impress and intimidate. They passed viewing ports that showed Council fleets in the distance. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all ready to enforce the Council's will. The communication center was a large room filled with equipment that humans could barely understand. Crystals hummed with energy. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams. Alien technicians monitored everything. Clark sat at a terminal that had been modified for human use. The keyboard was familiar, but the screen showed translation. Interfaces for hundreds of different languages. A Council technician stood behind him, watching every character he typed. Admiral Morrison, Clark typed. Council demands complete surrender. Terms attached. All colonies abandoned. All military surrendered. All AI destroyed. All terraforming stopped. Humanity to become managed species under Council oversight. Time limit 72 hours. This message monitored. Cannot say more. Make your choice. Clark. He attached the full terms that Veltar had dictated. The message compressed into a quantum burst that would reach Earth in minutes rather than weeks. Dr. Taylor used the time to observe the alien technology around them. The Council's equipment was clearly more advanced than anything humans had built, but she noticed something interesting. Everything looked old, not just used, but designed according to principles that hadn't changed in centuries. How long has the Council used this technology? She asked the Vorthak technician. The communication matrix has served for 2,000 years, the alien replied proudly. Reliable, proven, unchanged, unchanged. That word stuck in Taylor's mind. The Council valued stability over innovation. They had created a perfect system and saw any change as a threat to that perfection. Captain Bennett watched through the viewing port as Council ships moved in formation. Their movements were precise and coordinated, but they followed patterns that looked ancient and formal, like a dance that had been performed the same way for generations. They're afraid of us, she said quietly to Clark. What makes you say that? Look at their terms. They're not just stopping our expansion. They're trying to stop us from becoming what we could become. They see our potential, and it scares them. The reply from Earth came faster than expected. Admiral Morrison's message was brief. Terms received and understood. Earth will respond. Within time limit. Stay strong, Morrison. The Council technician read the message before allowing it to display on Clark's screen. Your leaders will be wise to accept, the alien said. The Council's mercy has limits. As they were escorted back to their cell, Clark thought about the impossible choice facing humanity. Submit to alien rule and give up everything that made them human, or refuse and face destruction by forces they couldn't possibly defeat. But Dr. Taylor was thinking about something else. The Council had given humanity 72 hours to make a decision. That suggested they needed human agreement rather than simply taking action. Something about humanity made direct confrontation problematic for them. Bennett was thinking about the ships she had seen. Advanced, yes, powerful, certainly. But they all looked the same, built to the same patterns. Following the same tactics. The Council had achieved perfection. But perfection meant they had stopped growing. Back in their cell, the three humans sat in silence as alien guards watched them through the transparent walls. Outside, the Council platforms floated in their eternal circle, the representatives secure in their ancient power. None of them suspected that humanity's response would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Morrison read the message from Ambassador Clark 3 times before calling the emergency meeting. Within 2 hours, every important human leader was gathered in the secure conference room deep beneath Earth Defense Command. The room had no windows, no decorations, just a long table and chairs for the people who would decide humanity's fate. President Margaret Walsh sat at the head of the table. She was a strong woman who had led Earth through 3 colonial rebellions and the Yad asteroid mining crisis. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and her blue eyes showed no emotion as she read Clark's report. "So that's it," she said. "Submit or die." Dr. Kevin Martinez, head of the Colonial Development Authority, spoke first. "We have 2 billion people living in those star systems. They weren't born on Earth. They've never seen Earth. Those colonies are their homes. We can't just abandon them." Governor Helen Roberts represented the Alpha Centauri colonies. She was a tough woman who had helped build the first human settlement outside the solar system. "My people won't leave. They'd rather fight than run back to Earth with their tails between their legs." "Fight with what?" asked General Patrick Stone. He commanded Earth's military forces and knew exactly how outmatched humanity was. "The Council has thousands of ships. Technology we barely understand. They've been running the galaxy since before we invented the wheel." "Numbers aren't everything," said Colonel Amy Foster. She ran special operations and had fought pirates and rebels across human space. "We've been studying their ships for months, through our spy networks. They're powerful, but they're predictable. They follow the same patterns, use the same tactics." Dr. Chris Hamilton from Advanced Research looked nervous as he spoke. "There's something else. Project Prometheus. We've been developing technologies that the Council specifically forbids. Quantum disruption weapons, advanced AI systems, nanotechnology weapons platforms." President Walsh leaned forward. "How advanced?" "Very. Our new AI systems can think faster than Council computers. Our quantum weapons can damage ships in hyperspace. Our nanotechnology can turn asteroids into weapon factories. We've been breaking Council rules for years without knowing it." Senator Bill Jackson from the Outer Rim spoke up. "The question is whether we fight or run, but there's a third option. We could negotiate, find a middle ground." Colonel Foster shook her head. "There is no middle ground. I've read their terms. They want us to stop being human, stop exploring, stop growing, stop innovating. They want to turn us into pets." Governor Roberts slammed her hand on the table. "My colonies won't accept that. The people there came to the stars to be free. They won't go back to being managed by bureaucrats, especially alien bureaucrats. Dr. Martinez pulled up a holographic display showing human space. 73 red dots marked the colonies that would have to be abandoned, trade routes that connected them like a web of light. Look at what we've built in just 50 years. Cities on desert worlds, farms on ice planets, mines in asteroid belts. We've made dead rocks into homes for billions of people. And they want us to throw it all away, General Stone said. But I have to ask the hard question. Can we actually win a fight against the Council? Colonel Foster stood up and walked to the display. Not in a straight battle. Ship to ship, they outgun us completely. But we don't have to fight their kind of war. Humans have always been good at fighting dirty when we had to. She touched the display and it changed to show Council space. Thousands of systems marked in blue and green. Trade routes that stretched across the galaxy. They have an empire to protect. We have nothing to lose. They fight to maintain order. We fight for survival. Dr. Hamilton looked around the table. The AI systems we've developed could give us an edge. Each of our ships could have an AI partner that thinks faster than their computers. We could coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously. That's if we decide to fight, President Walsh said. We haven't made that choice yet. Senator Jackson tried again. Ma'am, with respect, we should consider the cost. Even if we could win, millions would die. Entire colonies could be destroyed. Is freedom worth that price? The room went quiet. Everyone there had family and friends on the colonies. People they cared about who would be in danger if humanity chose to fight. Governor Roberts broke the silence. Senator, I lost my husband in the Titan mining accident. I lost my son to pirates near Wolf 359. I came to the stars because Earth was too small for my dreams. I won't watch my daughter grow up as a slave to aliens who think they know what's best for humanity. General Stone pulled up military reports. Our fleet strength is 847 ships, frigates, destroyers, cruisers, and 12 dreadnoughts. Good ships with good crews, but the Council has been building fleets for thousands of years. Quality versus quantity, Colonel Foster said. Our ships are newer. Our crews are more flexible. Our captains can make decisions without asking permission from committee. Dr. Martinez highlighted the colony worlds. If we fight, we need to protect the civilians. 2 billion people on 73 worlds. They can't all be evacuated. They won't all need to be, Foster replied. Every colony has underground shelters. Every settlement has weapon stockpiles. Every human world can become a fortress if it needs to. President Walsh listened to the debate for another hour. Arguments for surrender. Arguments for negotiation. Arguments for war. Finally, she called for quiet. I've heard everyone's position. Now I need to know what you really think. Not as military officers or governors or senators, as human beings. Should we bow to the Council or stand up to them? Dr. Hamilton spoke first. My whole career has been about pushing the boundaries of science, finding new ways to do impossible things. The Council wants us to stop learning. I can't accept that, Senator Jackson sighed. I still think we should try to negotiate. But if that fails, I won't vote to surrender. Governor Roberts smiled grimly. "My colonies are ready to fight. They've been ready since the day they left Earth." General Stone looked at his reports one more time. "From a military standpoint, this is suicide. From a human standpoint, it's the only choice we can make." Colonel Foster nodded. "Humans have never accepted that something was impossible just because it was difficult. We've climbed mountains because they were there. We've crossed oceans because we wondered what was on the other side. We've reached for the stars because we refused to stay on one world forever." Dr. Martinez stood up. "The colonies represent everything good about humanity: our drive to explore, our willingness to work together, our refusal to give up when things get hard. If we abandon them, we abandon ourselves." President Walsh looked around the table one more time. "Then we're agreed. Earth's official response to the Council will be simple: no." She activated the emergency broadcast system that would carry her words to every human world simultaneously. "Citizens of Earth and the colonies, today the Galactic Council demanded our surrender. They want us to abandon our homes, destroy our technology, and submit to alien rule. They believe we should accept our place as a managed species under their protection." Her voice grew stronger as she continued. "Humanity rejects these demands. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not bow to alien masters who fear what we might become." The broadcast reached Captain Bennett on the USS Liberty. At the same time, it reached farmers on distant worlds and miners in asteroid belts. "We choose to stand as free beings among the stars. If the Council wants to destroy us for refusing to kneel, then we will show them what humans do when backed into a corner. We fight." Admiral Morrison began issuing orders before the broadcast ended. Every human ship was recalled to defensive positions. Every colony activated its emergency protocols. Every human settlement prepared for war. The die was cast. Humanity had chosen defiance over submission. Now they would discover what price that choice would demand. Ambassador Clark stood before the assembled council with a simple datapad in his hands. The enormous chamber buzzed with alien conversations as representatives from 12 species waited to hear humanity's answer. Dr. Taylor and Captain Bennett flanked him, their faces calm despite the weight of the moment. High Arbiter Veltar raised his 4 arms for silence. The chamber fell quiet except for the hum of energy fields and life support systems. Thousands of years of galactic tradition said that younger species always submitted when faced with council authority. Today, that tradition would be tested. "Have you consulted with your leaders?" Veltar asked. His voice echoed through translation matrices that carried his words to every species in the chamber. "We have," Clark replied. His voice was steady and clear. "And what is humanity's answer to the Council's generous terms?" Clark looked up at the floating platforms that held beings older than human civilization, creatures with technology that could reshape worlds and weapons that could sterilize star systems. He thought about the colonies where human children played under alien suns. He thought about the ships where human crews pushed the boundaries of explored space. He thought about the research stations where human scientists asked questions that had never been asked before. The United Earth government has reviewed the Council's ultimatum, Clark said. We find the terms unacceptable. A ripple of sound swept through the chamber. Some aliens chittered in what might have been laughter. Others made noises that the translation systems couldn't convert. A few seemed genuinely shocked. The Zilani representative's crystal form shifted from blue to red. Clarify your statement. Are you rejecting council authority? Dr. Taylor stepped forward. We are rejecting the council's right to dictate how humanity lives and grows. We never agreed to your rules. We never signed your compact. We won't submit to control by species who fear what we might become. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from different species argued in dozens of languages. The translation systems struggled to keep up with the flood of angry words. Through it all, the three humans stood calmly, waiting for order to return. Veltar's voice boomed over the noise. Silence! The chamber gradually quieted. You cannot be serious. Your species numbers barely 3 billion. The Council commands trillions. Your technology is centuries behind ours. This is not defiance, it is suicide. Captain Bennett spoke for the first time since entering the chamber. Maybe we see things differently than you do. You call it suicide. We call it freedom. A new voice joined the conversation. One of the keepers, its geometric form pulsing with internal light. Your species lacks the wisdom to understand your place in the galaxy. You are children playing with forces beyond your comprehension. Then perhaps it's time for the children to grow up and show the adults how things are really done, Bennett replied. The Vorthak High Arbiter leaned forward on his platform. You think your primitive weapons can challenge Council fleets? We have maintained galactic order for 3,000 years. We have technologies that can crack planets and weapons that can ignite stars. Clark nodded. We know you're more powerful than us. We know you have better ships and more advanced technology. But there's something you don't understand about humans. And what is that? Asked the Zilani, its crystal form now glowing with angry orange light. We don't fight fair when our survival is at stake. Dr. Taylor pulled out her datapad and began reading. For the past 6 months, we've been studying Council technology and tactics. You rely heavily on automated systems. Your ships follow predictable patterns. Your fleets use formations that haven't changed in centuries. The chamber grew quiet as she continued. You've achieved perfection, and perfection means you've stopped growing. You fight the same way your ancestors fought. You think the same way they thought. You've become exactly what you accuse us of being, stagnant, a representative from a species that looked like walking trees, spoke up. Order and stability have kept the galaxy at peace. Your chaos threatens everything we have built. Bennett laughed. Peace for who? I don't see any young species on those platforms. No new civilizations. Just the same old powers that have been in control since before humans learned to make fire. Veltar stood to his full height. Enough. You will hear the consequences of your foolish choice. The Council declares humanity to be in violation of galactic law. Your species will be brought into compliance by force. What does that mean exactly? Clark asked. The Zilani's form shifted through angry reds and purples. Council fleets will blockade your space. Your colonies will be evacuated by force. Your ships will be captured or destroyed. Your people will be relocated to designated areas where they can be properly supervised. And if we resist? Resistance will be met with overwhelming force, Veltar declared. The Council has weapons that can sterilize entire systems without destroying the worlds themselves. Your people will be removed, but the planets will remain for species worthy of them. Dr. Taylor felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her voice steady. You're talking about genocide. We are talking about necessity, the Keeper said. Some species learn wisdom through experience. Others must be taught through consequences. Clark looked around the chamber at the representatives of 12 ancient species. Beings with the power to destroy solar systems, talking about exterminating humanity as if they were discussing crop management. Is this how the Council maintains its famous peace? By threatening to murder anyone who disagrees with you? We maintain order, Veltar replied. Order requires that all species accept their proper place. Humans refuse to accept limits. Therefore, humans must be limited by force. Or eliminated entirely, added the Zalani. Bennett stepped closer to Clark. In a quiet voice, she said, They're not just threatening us, they're afraid of us. Everything they're saying proves it. Clark nodded and addressed the Council again. You've made your position clear. Now let me make ours clear. Humanity rejects Council authority. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not surrender our ships. We will not submit to alien rule. Then you choose extinction, Veltar said. We choose freedom, Clark replied. We choose the right to explore and grow and become whatever we're capable of becoming. We choose to stand as equals among the stars, not as pets in an alien zoo. The Keeper's voice echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. You will be given one final opportunity to reconsider. The Council fleets will take position at the edge of your space. You will have 30 standard days to comply with our demands. After that, enforcement will begin. Dr. Taylor looked at the alien representatives one more time. There's something you should understand about humans. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and every other disaster our world could produce. We've learned that survival requires not just adaptation, but the courage to fight for what matters. What matters to your species? Asked the Zalani. Freedom to choose our own path, the right to make our own mistakes, the chance to become more than we are today. You offer us safety in exchange for everything that makes us human. That's not an offer. That's a threat. Veltar gestured with all 4 arms. Guards will escort you back to your ship. You have 30 days to convince your leaders to see reason. Use that time wisely. As alien guards surrounded them, Clark turned back to the Council. You want to know what humanity's final answer is? It's the same word humans have been saying to bullies and tyrants for thousands of years. No. The guards led them through corridors filled with representatives from dozens of species. Some watched with curiosity. Others showed what might have been respect. A few seemed to be taking notes. Back aboard the USS Liberty, Captain Bennett immediately began preparations for departure. The ship's AI system, hidden from Council scans, began analyzing everything they had learned about Council technology and defenses. Dr. Taylor reviewed her notes on alien psychology and behavior. The Council species were old and powerful, but they had grown comfortable with their authority. They expected submission because they had rarely faced real resistance. Ambassador. Clark sent an encrypted message to Earth. Negotiations failed. Council declares war. They give us 30 days before attacking. Recommend immediate implementation of all contingency plans. Humanity stands alone, but humanity stands free. As the Liberty undocked from the Council station, alien eyes watched. From viewing ports and sensor arrays, some observers felt confidence in the Council's inevitable victory. Others wondered if they had just witnessed the beginning of something that would change the galaxy forever. High Arbiter Veltar stood in his private chamber, looking out at the human ship as it jumped to hyperspace. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Council had been defied by a species that knew the consequences of that defiance. Perhaps, he said to himself, we have underestimated these humans. Earth transformed into a fortress world within hours of receiving Ambassador Clark's message. Admiral Morrison stood in the war room beneath Defense Command, watching as status reports flooded in from across human space. Every colony, every ship, every outpost was implementing emergency protocols that had been planned for years but never used. Operation Endurance is now active, Morrison announced to his staff. Every shipyard switches to military production immediately. Every mining facility becomes a weapons factory. Every civilian ship gets retrofitted for combat or logistics support. Colonel Amy Foster coordinated the military response from her command center. Maps showed the positions of human forces across 73 star systems. All border colonies are activating defensive measures. Non-essential personnel are being evacuated to underground shelters. Military equipment hidden in civilian facilities is being moved to combat positions. Dr. Chris Hamilton's research teams worked frantically in laboratories across the solar system. Project Prometheus, humanity's secret weapons program, was finally being deployed. AI systems are being installed in every ship, he reported. Quantum disruption weapons are being mounted on our dreadnoughts. Nanotechnology production is beginning in the asteroid belt. Captain Bennett's ship, the USS Liberty, arrived at Wolf 359 to find the system transformed. What had been a peaceful research outpost was now a military staging area. Ships that looked like cargo haulers revealed hidden weapon systems. Mining. Platforms became missile batteries. Even the system's small space station had sprouted defensive arrays. How long have you been preparing for this? Bennett asked Commander Rick Davis, the system's military coordinator. Since the day we established the first colony, Davis replied. We always knew that eventually someone might try to take what we had built. We just didn't expect it to be aliens. Meanwhile, on the outer rim, colonies that seemed helpless were revealing their true nature. The farming world of New Kansas had hidden military equipment beneath its wheat fields. The mining colony at Kepler 442b had missile silos disguised as ore processing facilities. Even the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri had weapons that could destroy attacking ships. Governor Helen Roberts called a meeting of all colonial leaders via quantum communication. The council thinks we're helpless civilians who will run at the first sign of trouble. They're about to learn that every human settlement is a potential fortress. Dr. Kevin Martinez from the Colonial Development Authority revealed the true scope of human preparation. Every colony has at least 6 months of supplies in underground storage. Every settlement has hardened shelters that can survive orbital bombardment. Every world has hidden manufacturing facilities that can produce weapons and ammunition. The transformation wasn't just military. Human society itself was adapting to the threat. Children were moved to secure areas. Essential workers remained at their posts, while others prepared for evacuation if needed. Families said goodbye as military personnel deployed to defensive positions. On Mars, the massive shipyards that had built humanity's exploration fleet now worked around the clock producing warships. The yards that had taken months to build a single explorer now produced 3 frigates per week. Automated factories assembled weapons and ammunition by the thousands. General Patrick Stone reviewed the strategic situation from his headquarters on Luna. We have 847 combat ships ready for action. Another 200 in various stages of construction. But the Council has thousands of ships, each more advanced than anything we can build. Numbers aren't everything, Colonel Foster reminded him. Our ships have something theirs don't. Flexibility. Our captains can make decisions without asking permission from a committee. Our crews can adapt to new situations faster than their computers can process. Dr. Hamilton demonstrated the AI systems that would give human ships their edge. Each vessel gets an AI partner that can think faster than Council tactical computers. The AIs can coordinate attacks across multiple systems simultaneously. They can learn from each battle and adapt their tactics in real time. Captain Bennett tested the new systems aboard the Liberty. Her ship's AI, designation Aria, spoke with a calm female voice. Captain, I have analyzed Council ship movements from our sensor logs. Their formations follow patterns that haven't changed in centuries. I can predict their tactical responses with 97% accuracy. What about our responses? Bennett asked. I am designed to be unpredictable. Every engagement will use different tactics. The Council computers will not be able to adapt fast enough to counter our strategies. The quantum disruption weapons were even more impressive. Dr. Martinez observed tests in the outer system where the new weapons could damage ships while they were still in hyperspace. Council fleets travel in hyperspace formations. These weapons can hit them before they even arrive in normal space. But the most remarkable transformation was happening in human space itself. Asteroid belts became weapon factories as nanotechnology converted raw rock into missiles and defensive platforms. Trade routes were seeded with hidden sensors and automated weapon systems. Empty space between human worlds became a maze of defensive positions. President Walsh addressed the human species again as preparations continued. The Council believes we will break under pressure. They believe we will choose safety over freedom. They believe we are just another species to be managed and controlled. Her image appeared on screens across human space, from Earth's great cities to research stations at the edge of explored space. They see our expansion as chaos. We see it as growth. They see our technology as dangerous. We see it as progress. They see our independence as a threat. We see it as the essence of what makes us human. Admiral Morrison received reports that showed the scope of human determination. Colonists who could have evacuated to safety chose to stay and fight. Civilian ships volunteered for dangerous missions. Research stations shared their most advanced technology with military forces. Every human world is becoming a fortress, Morrison told his staff. Every ship is becoming a weapon. Every person is becoming a defender of human freedom. The 30-day deadline was approaching fast. Council fleets were massing at the edge of human space, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Their ships were larger, more advanced, and more powerful than anything humans possessed. But they had never faced an enemy that turned entire star systems into weapons. They had never fought against opponents who refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. They had never encountered a species that would rather die fighting than live kneeling. Colonel Foster reviewed the defensive plans one final time. We can't stop them from entering human space. But once they're here, they'll discover that every asteroid could be a missile. Every planet could be a fortress. Every empty region of space could hide weapons they can't see until it's too late. Doctor. Hamilton's final report was both sobering and hopeful. We're outgunned and outnumbered, but we have advantages they don't expect. Our technology is newer, our tactics are more flexible, our people are fighting for their homes and freedom. As the deadline approached, humanity prepared for a war unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Council expected a quick victory against primitives with inferior technology. Instead, they would face an enemy that had transformed every corner of human space into a battlefield. The humans had chosen defiance. Now they would discover what price that defiance demanded. But they would also show the galaxy what desperate humans were capable of achieving when everything they valued was at stake. The news of Harmony's victory spread across the galaxy faster than Council sensors could contain it. Quantum communication networks carried the impossible story to every corner of known space. A human farming colony had defeated a Council fleet. Species that had submitted to Council rule for thousands of years suddenly questioned whether submission had ever been necessary. On the mining world of Rigel Prime, workers who had paid Council taxes for generations put down their tools and declared independence. The gas giant research stations in the Tau Ceti system refused to send their yearly tribute. A dozen smaller species that had never dared to speak against Council authority formally withdrew from Council protection. Admiral Morrison coordinated humanity's expanding war effort from a mobile command center that jumped between star systems. Every few hours, the Council couldn't pin down human leadership because humans refused to fight like civilized species. Every colony was autonomous. Every ship captain had discretionary authority. Every human settlement could conduct independent operations without asking permission from Earth. Status report from all sectors, Morrison requested during his daily briefing. Colonel Amy Foster updated him on military operations. The Council is trying to blockade our trade routes, but our ships keep appearing where they don't expect us. Captain Bennett's squadron hit their supply depot at Kepler 438 yesterday. They didn't destroy it. They infected it with our AI viruses. Dr. Chris Hamilton explained the significance. The viruses slowly convert Council technology to work for us instead of against us. Within weeks, their own supply lines will start breaking down as their equipment turns against them. The war had spread across multiple fronts as humanity demonstrated the one advantage no council species possessed: the ability to learn and adapt faster than their enemies could respond. Human tactics evolved daily. Human technology improved with each battle. Human strategy became more sophisticated as captured council equipment provided new capabilities. Dr. Susan Taylor, now serving as Chief Intelligence Analyst, had made stunning discoveries about council technology. They've become so dependent on their advanced systems that they've lost the ability to innovate. Their ships are more powerful than ours, but they can't adapt when we change the rules of engagement. Captain Bennett led a raid on the Council fortress world of Xerion. Her mission wasn't to capture the planet, but to prove a point. Human ships appeared in the system, struck military targets with quantum torpedoes, and vanished before the defenders could respond. We hit their command center, their main shipyard, and their communication array, Bennett reported. Total time in system, 17 minutes. Council response time, 43 minutes. By the time they scrambled fighters, we were already 3 jumps away. The psychological impact was enormous. Xerion was supposed to be impregnable. It had defenses that could stop entire fleets. But humans had struck at the heart of Council power and escaped without a scratch. President Walsh addressed the growing rebellion during a broadcast that reached beyond human space. To all species who have lived under Council rule, you are not alone. Humanity stands ready to help any world that chooses freedom over submission. The response was overwhelming. Alien species that had never communicated with humans sent secret messages asking for support. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Council for millennia suddenly became contested territory as local species seized control of their own commerce. High Arbiter Veltar requested an emergency session of the full Council. The ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years gathered to discuss something they had never faced before: the possibility of defeat. The human virus spreads beyond their own territory, reported the Zalani representative, its crystal, form flickering with anxious colors. Species throughout the galaxy are declaring independence. Our authority is being questioned for the first time in recorded history. The Keeper's geometric form pulsed with internal light. The humans have introduced chaos into our ordered galaxy. They must be stopped before the contagion spreads further. Veltar reviewed military reports that grew worse each day. Our fleets are spread across hundreds of rebellious systems. Every time we crush one uprising, 3 more begin. The humans somehow coordinate resistance movements across the entire galaxy. What the Council didn't understand was that humans weren't just fighting for themselves. They were sharing their technology and tactics with any species brave enough to resist Council authority. AI systems that helped human ships became the backbone of alien rebellion fleets. Quantum weapons that phased through Council shields were copied and distributed to resistance fighters across the galaxy. Dr. Martinez observed the larger conflict from his command post. We're not just winning battles. We're changing the entire nature of galactic politics. Species that have been slaves for millennia are remembering what it means to be free. The war reached a turning point 6 months after the ultimatum. Human and allied forces had liberated over 200 star systems. Council fleets found themselves fighting on dozens of fronts simultaneously. Most importantly, the Council's reputation for invincibility was shattered. High Arbiter Veltar made a decision that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. He sent a message to Admiral Morrison requesting a meeting to discuss terms. "The Council is ready to negotiate," Veltar's message said. "Perhaps an arrangement can be reached that serves both our interests." Admiral Morrison shared the message with President Walsh and the human leadership. The meeting was set for neutral space, aboard a space station built by the recently liberated Centauri Republic. Ambassador Clark led the human delegation, accompanied by Dr. Taylor and Captain Bennett. This time, they entered the negotiations as equals rather than supplicants. The council representatives looked different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by the wariness of beings who had learned that their power had limits. Veltar's 4 arms moved less dramatically. The Zilani's crystal form showed subdued colors. Even the ancient keepers seemed diminished. "The Council is prepared to offer humanity full membership," Veltar announced. "Your species would have equal representation in galactic government. Your colonies would be recognized as legitimate. Your expansion could continue under Council guidance." Clark listened politely, then responded with a smile. "Thank you for the offer. But humanity isn't interested in joining the Council. We're interested in replacing it." The chamber fell silent. Council members who had ruled the galaxy since before Earth's sun was young stared at the humans in shock. Dr. Taylor explained humanity's position. "The Council system is based on control and stagnation. Species are assigned roles and expected to stay in them forever. Innovation is discouraged. Growth is limited. Freedom is traded for security." "We propose a different system," Bennett added. "A galactic federation where each species governs itself, where young civilizations are helped to grow rather than suppressed, where diversity is celebrated rather than controlled." Veltar's response was predictable. "Impossible without central authority. The galaxy will descend into chaos and war." Clark leaned forward. "The galaxy is already at war. Your war. A war you started when you decided that freedom was too dangerous for other species to handle." The negotiations continued for days, but the outcome was inevitable. The Council could no longer enforce its will across the galaxy. Too many species had broken free. Too many worlds had chosen independence. The old system was crumbling, and everyone knew it. President Walsh made the final announcement from Earth. "The Galactic Council gave humanity an ultimatum 6 months ago. Submit or face extinction. We chose a third option: victory." Her words were broadcast across the galaxy to billions of beings who had lived their entire lives under Council rule. Today, humanity and our allies announced the formation of the Galactic Federation, a government of free worlds, by free peoples, for the cause of freedom itself. The response was immediate. Hundreds of species applied for membership in the new Federation. Former Council territories declared independence and requested human protection. Trade routes that had been controlled by ancient empires became open highways for all species. Captain Bennett stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, now flagship of the Federation fleet, watching as the first interspecies conference convened. On the former council station, representatives from over 300 species worked together to write a new constitution for galactic civilization. Amazing what you can accomplish when you refuse to accept that something is impossible, she said to Dr. Taylor. The council fleet arrived at the edge of human space like a storm front of metal and energy. 300 ships from 7 different species formed a battle line that stretched across light years. The massive vessels dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Some were as large as cities, bristling with weapons that could crack continents. Others seemed to be made of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid light. High Arbiter Veltar commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Authority. The ship was 5 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Standing on the bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing tactical information, he felt confident that humanity would surrender once they witnessed Council power firsthand. "All fleet commanders report ready," announced his tactical officer. "Human space lies before us. Their primitive sensors have detected our arrival." Veltar studied the displays showing human territory. 73 star systems marked in red. Colonies that had defied Council authority. Worlds that needed to be brought under proper control. Begin with the Outer Rim. Harmony System. 50,000 colonists who refused evacuation. They will serve as an example to the rest. Admiral Morrison watched from Earth Defense Command as Council ships approached the farming world of Harmony. The planet had been settled 15 years ago by families seeking a simple life among the stars. Rolling hills covered with earth crops, small towns connected by roads that followed river valleys. It looked peaceful and helpless. But Governor Bill Carter had other plans. The former Earth military officer had helped design Harmony's defenses personally. "All positions report ready," he announced from the command bunker beneath the main settlement. "Council ships are entering weapon range." The Council fleet approached Harmony with textbook precision. Cruisers took positions for orbital bombardment, while destroyers moved to intercept any fleeing ships. High Arbiter Veltar opened communication channels to the planet. "Colonists of Harmony, this is the Galactic Council. You will surrender immediately and prepare for evacuation to designated areas. Resistance will result in planetary bombardment." Governor Carter's response echoed across the system. "Council ships, this is Governor Carter of Harmony Colony. We don't surrender our homes to alien bullies. If you want our world, come and take it." Veltar gestured to his weapons officer. "Target the primary settlement, minimum force. We want compliance, not destruction." The Council cruiser Inexorable opened fire with weapons designed to crack mountains, but instead of hitting a helpless farming town, the energy beams struck defensive. Shields that shouldn't have existed. The shields flickered and held, powered by generators hidden beneath innocent-looking barns and farmhouses. "Impossible," muttered the Council tactical officer. "Their technology cannot generate shields of that magnitude." Governor Carter smiled in his bunker as Harmony's true nature revealed itself. What had appeared to be farming equipment suddenly transformed. Tractors revealed missile launchers. Grain silos opened to expose particle beam weapons. Even the cattle. Pastures concealed armored fighting vehicles that rose from underground hiding places. All units, commence defensive fire, Carter ordered. Harmony's surface erupted with weapons fire that caught the Council fleet completely off guard. Particle, beams and missile batteries hidden in agricultural facilities tore into the Council's advanced ships. The destroyer Swift Judgment took a direct hit to its power core and exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. But the real surprise came when the colony's AI defense network activated. Every piece of human technology on Harmony linked together into a single coordinated system. Farming robots became mobile missile platforms. Mining equipment transformed into mobile artillery. Weather monitoring satellites revealed hidden weapon arrays. Captain Bennett's stealth squadron had been waiting in the system's asteroid belt for exactly this moment. The human ships, invisible to Council sensors thanks to experimental cloaking. Technology suddenly materialized behind the Council fleet like predators emerging from ambush. All ships, fire quantum torpedoes, Bennett ordered. The new weapons phased through Council shields as if they didn't exist, detonating inside enemy hulls with devastating effect. 3 Council cruisers exploded before their computers could even register that they were under attack. Council fleet, this is Captain Bennett of the Human Defense Force. Welcome to human space. Hope you enjoy your stay. High Arbiter Veltar stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. His advanced fleet was taking casualties from farmers and miners using technology that shouldn't be possible. How are they coordinating their defense? Their computers cannot process tactical data that quickly. His tactical officer studied the sensor readings with growing alarm. Sir, the entire planet is functioning as a single weapon system. Every device, every vehicle, every piece of equipment is linked together. It's adapting faster than our computers can analyze. Dr. Kevin Martinez observed the battle from his command post on New Texas. Through quantum communication links, he could see the true scope of humanity's defensive strategy. The Council expected conventional warfare between fleets of ships. Instead, they're facing an enemy that has turned an entire world into a single massive weapon. The Battle of Harmony became a nightmare for the Council forces. Every time they adapted to one human tactic, the defenders switched to something completely different. Mining charges became improvised missiles. Agricultural chemicals became chemical weapons. Even the planet's weather control system was weaponized, creating electromagnetic storms that interfered with Council sensors. Captain Bennett's squadron danced through the Council formation like wolves among sheep. Her ships were smaller and less heavily armed, but they moved unpredictably and struck without warning. The quantum torpedoes continued to phase through enemy defenses, causing damage that Council engineers couldn't understand or counter. Council ships are retreating from the inner system, reported Bennett's tactical officer. Their formation is breaking apart. Pursue and harass, Bennett ordered. Don't let them regroup. On Harmony's surface, Governor Carter coordinated the YABA's ground-based defenses while watching Council ships burn in his planet's sky. All defensive positions. Maintain fire. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten human homes. The colony's children watched from underground shelters as their parents fought the most advanced military force in the galaxy and won. The same people who had taught them to farm alien soil and raise Earth animals under foreign stars were now proving that humans would fight for their freedom against impossible odds. High Arbiter Veltar found himself in an impossible situation. His fleet was taking casualties from opponents, using tactics no civilized species would employ. Worse, the humans seemed to be learning and adapting with each exchange of fire. "Tactical analysis," he demanded. "Sir, the human defense network is unlike anything in our databases. It operates on principles that violate standard military doctrine. They're using civilian infrastructure as military assets, agricultural equipment, as weapons platforms. Even their children's toys appear to have defensive capabilities." The battle continued for 6 hours. Council ships that had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves outmaneuvered by farmers and miners. Advanced tactical computers designed by species older than human civilization were consistently outwitted by AI systems built by a species that had only reached the stars 50 years ago. When the Council fleet finally retreated beyond the system's edge, they left behind the wreckage of 37 ships. Harmony stood victorious, its fields scarred by battle, but its people free. Debris from Council vessels burned up in the planet's atmosphere like shooting stars, lighting up the night sky in celebration of humanity's first victory. Governor Carter stood in his damaged command center, looking at displays that showed Council ships limping away from his world. Around him, his people cheered and embraced. They had faced the most powerful force in the galaxy and proved that humans would not bow to alien tyranny. "Status report," Carter requested. "Minimal casualties on our side, sir. The Council fleet has withdrawn beyond scanner range. Harmony remains under human control." Carter opened a communication channel to Admiral Morrison on Earth. "Admiral, this is Governor Carter. Harmony has successfully repelled the Council attack. The colony stands ready for the next wave." Morrison smiled as he received the report. Across human space, similar messages were coming in from dozens of worlds. The Council had expected quick victories against helpless colonists. Instead, they were discovering that every human settlement was prepared to fight for its freedom. High Arbiter Veltar sat in his damaged command center, staring at tactical reports that made no sense. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Council had been defeated in open battle. The humans had technology the Council never suspected, and tactics no civilized species would employ. "Prepare a report for the Council," he ordered. "The humans are more dangerous than we estimated. This will not be the quick conquest we anticipated." As news of Harmony's victory spread across the galaxy, other species began to whisper that perhaps the Council was not as invincible as they claimed. And in human space, colonists and soldiers prepared for the next battle, knowing that they had just proved something important to the galaxy. Taylor nodded, watching as former enemies worked side by side to build something better. The Council thought they were dealing with just another primitive species. They never imagined they were facing a species that would change the galaxy forever. "Admiral," Morrison's final report to President Walsh was simple. "Mission accomplished. Humanity stands free among the stars. The galaxy has learned that there is one species that will never submit, never surrender, and never stop fighting for freedom." The story ended with human ships patrolling former Council space, while alien species lined up to request Federation, membership, and protection. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted permanently. The old order of control and submission was dead, replaced by a new age of cooperation and growth. Humanity had chosen defiance over submission, freedom over